I knew the body innately heals. It can't not.
A pocket of energy within myself.
This is for your mother. So just do this for her.
Let's figure out ways that we can actually use pleasure to come together and bring healing.
It's a modality where we go into your subconscious and change some of those limiting beliefs.
I'm Susan Marco, clinical hypnotist, and I have so many friends and people who have had big impact on my life. So I want to share them all with you. Hello, everybody. Susan Marco here with Trance Talks. And today I'm sitting with this lovely woman, Heather Forrester, who we recently met. We haven't known each other for long. But I'm so happy to have made your acquaintance and to get to know you better, Heather. Heather had me on her podcast recently, and now she's jumping on to Trance Talks to share her magic with us. So listen, she's done a lot in her, I don't want to say young, but you have really accomplished a lot in your life so far. She's the founder of SoulHealer Institute, a conscious leader, a best-selling author of an ebook called Breaking Toxic Life Patterns. Heather has been recognized on Point Global News as power healer with the superpower of self-love. And she's also passionate about helping others heal their pasts, create peaceful presents, and prioritize their dream-worthy futures. Now, somewhere, and I think it's on your website, I saw this little blurb, and I just want to share this because it kind of says everything about you.
Aww.
Heather is guiding curse breakers, truth seekers, and conscious leaders to manifest magic after madness. And I get a chill even from saying words out loud. So I could keep talking, but I'm going to give the mic to you, Heather, and ask you to just share with our listeners, who are you, what are you doing, and all of it.
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. I loved having you on my podcast, and that was so much fun. We had really, really good conversations, and also thank you so much for just sharing your thoughts on what I shared with you, and you looking at my website, and hearing that feels really good. I love that, because I feel the same way about whenever I'm creating or putting things out there. I'm just it's so funny actually that we're talking about this, because it's on my mind a lot. Is it coming across? Is the intensity of what we're really about to do coming across? And when you said that, and so it's so funny that I was thinking about this recently, and then you coming to me today, and it's giving me confirmation that other people can feel that energy, and so that is so cool. But yeah, like Susan was saying, I am a consciousness leader, and my specialty is helping others master self-healing, self-leadership, and just really learning how to be able to detach and surrender into your most authentic desires so that you can create your soul aligned reality. And of course, it's so cool though, this journey. It's never it's so crazy how it's not going to end up how you think it is, or who you think you are, and all of these things that you think by the end of it is totally shifted, and your real self is able to just kind of break through that. And it's just such a wonderful, beautiful journey. And so I'm super excited to talk more about it.
Tell me something. How do you work with people actually? Do you see people for, a session at a time? Do you have programs that you offer?
Yeah. So right now, I've been working on expanding. So I was doing one-to-one coaching for the last 4 years, and I had added a group program to that as well. And I've been, over the last year and a half, trying to just kind of figure out how to expand, how to evolve, how to, put it all together in a way where I'm not stuck in one capacity, because I'm so multidimensional, right? So over the winter, actually, I built up a team of people that I've worked with for a long time who are very familiar with how I teach and what I do. And so together, I have this awesome group of coaches. So at SoulHealer Institute, we've got 2 programs. Well, we've got more than 2 programs, but 2 main programs that we're focusing on right now. And there's more to come. I've got it set up so we can set up multiple courses. So how it's set up right now is, if you come into my world, you kind of see what I'm about. I have a lot of free resources on my YouTube, my podcast. I try to do events every once in a while where I do workshops. Like, for example, I don't know when this podcast will release, but I've got a workshop coming out next week. And so what that does is it kind of helps people figure out if I'm aligned with them. And when they come to my website, they can see that we've got 2 different courses available. And so one's a 4-month program, one's a 6-month program. And the idea is you get to learn and practice on your own time, but you get significant group support. So there's weekly group calls and monthly private calls with that. And a team of people, I'm like obviously the main support system, but I've got a team of other coaches who are very well experienced in what I teach. And so, because they've been working with me for so long. So they're a good support system too. So I've got different levels. So the first level is really focused on that inner healing and really kind of processing from things that are maybe emotionally draining you or holding you back or whatever the case is. And so that's a really good place, like if someone's new to the journey or they haven't done a lot of emotional work or self-reflection work. And then we've got some more advanced trainings where it's more focused on, okay, you've done that inner healing work, you've done the emotional shifting, and now it's time for you to kind of really allow yourself to break through into your most authentic self and figure out what you really want in your life. And so it's a lot, but there's a lot of support in it. And, I love the courses. I love that I took the time to get it set up like this, because now my students have the videos, they get lifetime access to that stuff. It comes with a bunch of different journals and workbooks that I've created to help students stay accountable and stay focused and guided along the path. And because I thought, that's always really important to me, that it's as easy as possible when you're learning something so complex about yourself or your life and trying to make changes, and just having those little things to help you stay grounded in the 3D of something that's so, hard, because we can't see our minds and our emotions. We can't see how we're functioning in our energy. We don't see these things. We just feel them. So we have to, find our ways to ground ourselves so that we can guide ourselves through this complex journey that we go on.
Yeah. Okay. I as I was listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, I probably asked this question in a strange order, but all of that being said, like, you offer a lot. I know that you offer a lot to your, students, followers, whatever, but Heather, what is your magic? Like, where does this come from for you?
So for me, this all kind of comes from my own personal experience and my own journey, of course, that kind of threw me into all of this. So I remember, it was like day and night, the shift was. And so I was kind of just living mundane life. Obviously, like you said, I'm pretty young, so it's pretty normal to not really know kind of what's going on until you're like in your 20s, and then everything is kind of like, what's going on? But when I was 20 years old, exactly, my dad passed away unexpectedly. And it was in this very unexpected, traumatic event, because my dad was like my everything. And so losing him, and plus I had a very troubled relationship with my mom. So losing him at 20 years old, when I'm just now kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm out of the teenage depression and drama. And, I was working so hard. I started working from a very young age, going to school all day and then working all night, like all till like 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and doing it all over again from a very young age. And so I'm like, just now getting to a place where I'm like, okay, maybe I can do more for my dad and take him places and do things. And then he had a massive heart attack. He passed away. And it was just so hard to lose that bond and connection. And what it did was it sent me to a place where I realized that I didn't really know much about myself or what I cared about. And I didn't even realize how for granted I was taking everything. And I wasn't really like, I realized that I wasn't very deep into anything, and everything was very surface level. And I just realized I didn't know a whole lot about like how life worked. And I really got it to a place where I had to, well, and you know what's actually interesting about this too, that woke me up before all of this happened in high school. I was actually an atheist from like for my entire high school career. But losing my dad sent me into a place where I felt like I needed to go find him. I was like, he's not gone. Like I immediately knew, like, or I wouldn't accept. I was like, he's here somewhere and I don't know where he is, but I'm going to find him. And so it's so funny. His death reawakened a spirituality journey and search for me. Yeah. And so with that, and then, it wasn't just with that led there, but not long after the death, I went through a traumatic divorce. And so as you can imagine, like the marriage that I was in held me together, but then that divorce really sent me into, okay, now I actually have to deal with what's happening inside of my body and these questions that I'm asking and all of these things that I am facing. And I also just had my daughter. So I was fresh in postpartum depression. I had an infant. I was alone. I was only like 22 years old, and it was so scary. But it forced me to realize, I had allowed a lot of toxic behaviors and attracted a lot of people that would take advantage of me during my young years, because when you have a strained relationship with your mom, you seek that validation, you seek that worthiness from other people, and that can cause you to get into relationships that end up taking advantage of you because of that need for that validation. And so my divorce really sent me into a place where I had to face that codependency that I was dealing with. And it was in that pain and the codependency and the toxic, I wrote the book, my ebook, Breaking Toxic Life Patterns. So I realized like I had all these toxic patterns happening, and I started to kind of reflect inward and wonder if I had anything to do with this, like if I was allowing it, because up until that point, I was kind of just feeling like I was a victim to circumstance. It's like things were just happening to me. My life just sucks. I must have been a bad person in another life, and now I'm reincarnated. I'm getting what I deserve. I'm a good person now, but everybody's bad to me, like that kind of narrative. And then all the things broke, my reality crumbled, and I was left alone with myself. And I started to like wonder if how I talked to myself and how I treated myself and how I thought about myself and cared about myself had anything to do with what I was allowing myself to experience. Mm-hmm. And that kind of set the motion for me to begin thinking a little bit differently. And that's when my magic really like woke up, I felt the shift of like, oh my gosh, like I felt like it was like a sense of more control, not necessarily like over my life, but like over how I'm experiencing my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it was like just so powerful to have that certainty in myself and really learn how to build that trust within myself. And I just became like, as soon as it happened, I could not shut up. And it's so funny. It happened while I was in my previous career. And so I was a hairdresser and I owned a salon. And I remember going to do people's hair, and it would take me hours to get their hair done because I would stop doing their hair just to talk to them about the things that I was discovering and learning. And everybody was like, whoa, like, what's happening? Like, I was a completely different person. And very quickly I was like, yeah, I'm closing the salon down. I'm sorry. I gotta go figure this out. Like, and I didn't even have my certification for coaching. I didn't even know that you could be a coach. I was like, I'm out. This is my focus. I don't know where I'm going. And then it's so funny how the universe works. I took that risk, and of course I set myself up so that I could just come home and focus on this stuff. I didn't know where it was going to lead me, but I just wanted to focus on this healing and this change and this magic that I was experiencing and nurture it. And I was able to do that. And then of course, that's when the opportunities to get my certification and learn how to actually, put something in a practice so that I can show up and show other people what I've discovered and what I've kind of figured out for myself so that they can have that same transformation, that same experience of that inner magic awaken up. So it's really awesome.
Gosh, so many things are like exploding in my head as you're talking, right? So first of all, what a huge lesson, like a huge gift in a sense that your father gave you by leaving when he did.
I know.
That's number one. I mean, when we think about loss and the effect that it has on us, and also that like pain is such a big motivator.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the universe, God, whatever your belief system is, or even just your own faith in yourself, like you will call those things forward to give you that big change that you really desire, where your passion lies. And I also loved the way that you talk about that responsibility piece and stepping out of the victim thing. Like I always get a little chuckle when people say things like, well, there's so much astrologically happening right now. Not like I believe in astrology and it's a great guide for things, but it's not the reason why we are having the issues that we're having, and the minute you start to think about and blaming outside of yourself for what's going on and not just kind of looking at where am I not aligned right now, like where. So I love the way that you put that. And I also loved, and from all of my listeners, if you have a passion for something and it just starts to unfold in front of you, don't worry if you have the certification. Don't let not have, like, because we'll do that, we'll sabotage ourselves and we'll think, well, I'm not good enough to do that because I don't have a website. Nobody's going to take me seriously, or, whatever. So much embodied in that 10 minutes that you were talking. I just wanted to reflect that back to you and put like an exclamation point for our listeners, because it's amazing.
Yeah. It really was, it was scary. And like I said, what's funny is I genuinely had no idea what was going to come from everything. But, I do understand, everybody's journey is different. And I think it's just the most important thing is, like I said, coming back, that first step is really just coming back to a place where you've cleared enough noise that you can sit with yourself where you're at. Because I feel like once you're there, it's not necessarily easy to just kind of sit and wait for that heart to move you, and move through a heart-centered place where you're not taking action out of fear. You're not taking action out of a need for anything or whatever. You're taking action from a place of just passion and excitement and childlike, wonder and imagination. And really that's why, I think my business and what I teach has evolved the way that it has, because I have those two main levels of clearing out all of that noise so that you can hear yourself and not everybody else, because everybody else is the reason, or, not blaming everybody else, but the voices of everything else in your head is what you've got to learn to differentiate. And when you can differentiate those voices and kind of understand what's happening in the inner space, then you then can clear that out and follow something that feels, you'll know it's right because it feels peaceful, and it also feels like, I have to do this. I'm so excited to do this. And you know what's so fun about that? Sometimes we're excited to do things and they don't turn out the way that we think that they're going to do. Like, as an entrepreneur, for example, maybe you have a lot of entrepreneurs in your space, I'm assuming, but like you host an event, maybe you don't get a client from it, or nobody shows up or whatever, but you were excited about it. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong, right? And that's the second part, is coming back to realizing, okay, I followed my excitement, but I'm not rich. I'm still not rich, or I'm still not this, still not that. So it's like getting to a place where you are following your excitement without attachment or expectation to the outcome of it.
Yeah.
And I get how hard that is, but that's why that inner work is so important, because it is hard. It is hard not to go to those spaces when something you do or you work really hard for doesn't work out.
Yeah.
It's really hard to not come back and be like, well, what's the point of this? This sucks. Like, because you love what you do, but you feel like you're not being heard, and you're not whatever, and of course I'm still talking about my, this is, I'm an entrepreneur. So these are the things that I experience. I have to do that inner work. I have to be able to be strong in that foundation with myself. And even me and you were talking about this on my podcast, just talking about how we, even though we are healers, we are space holders, we are guides, we are whatever, we still have these moments where things come up and we have to transmute them. We have to do our own personal work. But that's exactly how we grow. And it gives us these opportunities to practice what we're teaching. And it proves, for me, and from your story too, time and time again, that it works. And whether it's, and here's what's so funny. I really am big on emphasizing the fact that what you do and like the tools you have or whatever are not the power. It's really like within you. It's just what you create within yourself. But those tools, whatever tools they are that help you reach that experience within yourself, that's what matters the most for being able to maintain this journey, I believe, is just being able to connect back into yourself, know that you are the power, but the tools can help you connect back to that power. And just being able to maintain these things, because like I said, the roller coaster doesn't necessarily go away. You just know how to manage it more when you are able to focus on these inner journeys and focus on navigating that inner space a little bit easier or more clear for yourself.
Love that. So well said. So who do you primarily like? Is your audience mostly entrepreneurs, or how do you work with?
So I work with so many different people. It's so funny. I try to, they tell you in the business space to niche and put your, figure out who your person is or who your avatar is. And, I've tried to figure out like what similarities like my clients have, because it's not like they're all entrepreneurs. And it's not like, they're even all women. They're mostly women, sure, fine. That's fine. But I think for the most part, the things that I have in common with my people, or my people that come to me, are more so people who have had these experiences that tainted their perspective on themselves and the world, where somebody who's had a tainted perspective but knows better, they just don't know how to know better, and they want to know better, see things differently. So I don't know who that is, but it's anybody who really has just had this experience where they have these tainted perspectives on money or career or on confidence or on relationships with their children or lovers or parents. And there's just this disconnect because of maybe a negative experience that's just put these blinders on that are causing all of these illusionary issues that really just need to be like finally seen through a new lens, or a lens of more pure truth, something where you can see a whole picture and you're not so zoomed in on the thing that is kind of tainting you. But it's so hard when you've been tainted, or when you're in an experience where things are not working out, to see around that. And that's kind of where I like to come in. Of course, we as coaches, we are here because we're not biased to those things, and we can kind of see things that other people, that you as an individual can't see. And even us as coaches, I'm sure you can relate, like we get our own blind spots, and it's much easier to work through and get faster results when you've got somebody else that can kind of see a little bit outside of everything that you're sharing that maybe you can't see, because that confusion or that anxiety of being stuck can be so big that it creates these blinders. And so having that support is, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. And I want to reiterate something that you said, and just say it again, because I say it all the time, really, is that if your coach or your healer, your person that you're working with, is not doing their own work, run. Do you know, like, because we're always learning and we're always up leveling. And for me to show up continually and get better and better and better, I have to address my own stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise there's no growth in that. And then what am I actually giving to, what are we giving to our clients and our followers? Not much. Right. So kudos to you for that. And I honor that that's foremost for you, I think, and love that. And I have one more question. Okay. And this is not pre-scripted, so Heather has no idea I'm going to ask this question. And it is a question that I ask of a lot of my guests. What would you say is the key to success for your clients?
So, I really challenge, and, I love that you asked this question, because that really reflects back to what does soul aligned, what is a soul aligned reality? You know what I mean? Or a soul aligned experience. And so, and, what is authenticity, and all of these things that, are thrown around. And to me, what I think success means for my clients is defining what success means for them, and really being able to show up for that and allow them to evolve into whatever. And kind of, for me, I'm kind of the rebel, right? I'm a little bit of the rebel. Success for me is when you pave your own way, like your own path. And when you feel like you are allowed to show up in a way where it doesn't matter what other people think. You don't care to repel what's not meant for you. You're just able to show up from a place of authenticity and building your own way, whatever that means, in the way you raise your children, the way you build a business, the way you, are in a relationship with somebody else. It doesn't matter what it is you're working on. Making your own definitions, because that has been, for me and, a lot of my clients, that's probably the main, or one of the most important things, is getting out of your mom's definition of success or society's definition of success, and allowing yourself to figure out what's going to make you proud and what's going to make you happy. And that's really just coming back, again, clearing these noises of what people have told you your whole life, of what you need to do or who you need to be, how you need to show up, what success is. And so, again, it's so funny. Success for my clients is creating a soul aligned reality where they're in an experience where they're showing up exactly how they want to, and nobody can really take that from them. And so that's what I would say.
So beautiful. True to self.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So if people want to contact you, of course, it'll be in the show notes, but what's the best place for people to reach out to you if they want to learn more?
So my website is soulhealerinstitute.com. And that's probably the best place to kind of get to know a little bit more about me and my services. And of course, as time goes on and I create more, the website will just continue to be updated and evolve with that. So that'll be a good way to keep up with me. But the most direct way to connect with me would be my Facebook. So that's facebook.com/holistic healer Heather. I'm very personable with the people that I connect with on Facebook. That's how we connected. So if you want to connect with me on a little bit more of a personal level, then my Facebook's the best place to do that.
Beautiful. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with me today. I know that my listeners are going to just love everything that you said. So I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. Your questions were great. And I did my best to, because I can talk a lot and sometimes go off on little side tangents. So I try my best to stay focused on the question. So I hope that people can follow it decently.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say well done. And thank you so much.